Good, okay. Call meeting to order, start with the roll call.
Jason Wertz,
Yep.
Tiffany Yance, here, Tony Bevel, so he's absent tonight, Dorian Weibel. Absent tonight, Lisa Patterson, here, Richard Amici, Larry O'Keefe,
Here.
and Counselor Dan Stampy.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, so first up is the approval of minutes. Do we have any comments or corrections? We'll take a motion.
I'll move that we accept the minutes as is.
Second. Second. Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye. 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 Any opposed? All right. Move on to citizen comment, which we have two. So, thank you for coming. So just as a reminder, you have 4 minutes to talk and we'll start a timer. So just be mindful of that. And then, after you're done, there's no discussion back and forth with the board members or between us. So it's your chance to speak and be heard. So we'll start with, the first one here. So, our right. And start by just introduce yourself and your 4 minutes.
Thank you. Again, this is my second time before you all, and that's the same complaint. So I've really narrowed it down to 2 items. One, which I realize is complex, but as a resident, this is the committee that it has to be before, and that is enforcement. We have little or no enforcement. We do have the road painted now, which you were planning on a few weeks back. So it has the correct painting. However, the other item I would ask you to review is signage. The biggest issue for me personally is on the south 90-degree and the north 90-degree. That stretch in between is actually a 25-mile-an-hour zone. It's just not. The 35 to 40 miles an hour, I do not have accurate information, of course, on that. I've asked the city to consider the funding for cameras, because we're on the extremity of both Washington and Clackamas. So there's a fair amount of finger pointing. But again, that's the 2 items is for the committee to review is enforcement. And the second is on that particular stretch, signage. There is no signs there. Other than the amber, 20-mile-an-hour turn advisory. But I'm talking about a 25-mile-an-hour zone. The only issue is when you come off Lad Hill onto Brookman, there is a correct sign for the speed limit right there. On the eastbound, when you're east of Obus, there is another 25. But I can't talk to that area because I live on the gap in between, and it's considerable speeding there. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
All right, and Brown.
Hi, I'm Sammy Brown. I'm actually Buzz's daughter. I moved into Sherwood, July of 2023 after my mom passed. So I'm actually living in my parents' home. What's interesting is that my dad has his own driveway and I have a driveway. So it's right on the corner of Brookman, that first corner coming off of Lad. And so he has an issue with coming out of his driveway based on the speed. And then I'm at the blind corner. So in the 2 years that I've lived at the house, and I have my 2 children with me, there's been 3 accidents on that corner. Most all related to speed. It's a very dark corner. The road itself, as you guys know, there's many developments that are now coming in. And so there's more cars that are on there. What used to potentially have been a rural kind of country road is now really kind of picking up with the amount of cars that are traveling it, the people that are commuting and cutting through. It's really, really dangerous for me. I will say that there's been quite a few very, very close calls. I think that me coming to my dad and talking about that frustration of how my children and I've almost been hit numerous times around that corner has propelled him as a father to stand in front of you and pester you, so I apologize. I came to also support his endeavor because I know it's also in the best interest of myself, but it's really, really dangerous. And I just wanted to add that, as there's developments are coming in, there are a lot of children that are starting to run, being outside, especially with good weather, we all take advantage of it. And I'm just really afraid that something tragic is gonna happen if we don't kind of take some accountability. And I know that that's a challenge because it seems like there's so many different people that are enforcing one side of the road versus the other. As I've said to Dad, anytime that someone wants to come and sit and park in my driveway and be able to take some speeds, they're welcome to do that. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I'm happy to let them do that, but I just wanted to come and present from, I guess, Brookman A, that there is a significant issue on that corner, and I'm really worried about the speed and that people, I don't think it would take very long if there was some enforcement and also correct signage for people to go, okay, wait, I gotta slow down. Because now I think what's happening is I'm scaring them coming out of my driveway, and so those same cars that I'm seeing are slowing because they're like, that was scary. I just don't want anything to happen to me or my children. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both for coming in and speaking.
You need us to stay after the rest? Okay, sorry.
You're welcome to stay or leave as you wish.
I think that was.
All right.
Thank you again. Sorry. I'm nervous. I don't know why. Just a traffic meeting. I'm very serious. Thank you again.
Okay, we're gonna move on to business. So first one we get to welcome Counselor Dan. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Dan Stanke. This is my third year on the city council. I have served as the liaison to the planning commission for 2 years. I'm currently the liaison to library advisory board, who's for the school district, and now the public safety board. I am not a voting member for this board. I am here to communicate between the board and council, make sure that things that are happening here are getting the attention that they need. Looking through the past minutes, previous meetings, I had no idea that there were so many citizen comments who come in, or complaints or suggestions for traffic safety. Yeah, no idea. There's so many. And so it's good that we have made the single board to hopefully help with some communication so that we can resolve some of these issues for the city.
Thanks for being here. Seems like you have your fight pretty full. Okay, and then we welcome our captain. Can you prepare a speech?
I didn't know I was gonna give a speech, but just a little bit about me. I've been working for the city of Sherwood for over 26 years. I was a reserve 2.5 years before that, so I've been a resident of the city for just as long too, so I understand a lot of the dynamics and everything that goes along with it. So happy to be in this role, happy to be here with you, and be kind of a suggestions or, be part of this to where we can offer up whatever that we can from the post department side. So appreciate what you do as a board and what your goals and stuff are going to. I'm trying to play catch up too, just as much. I'm going back through the minutes and everything, going, man, they really do a lot. So I'm excited to be part of that and help for it.
Thank you.
Speech.
Okay. Now
Real quick, just to jump in, I guess the reason that Counselor Dan is here is because we're officially a board now. This is our first meeting as a board. We used to be a committee, so. Congrats to all of us. So.
so exciting. All right, so new traffic safety requests. The first one on the list there is the 2025-014 request for 2 additional stop signs at Woodhaven Pinehurst intersection. So this is one intersection area that we've talked about a number of times in the past for. Not necessarily this particular issue, but. So. Traditionally, Captain, the way that we've done these is if you guys have, insider things to share, we'll hear you and Jason or anybody from staff that has some things
You
to share.
present the analysis
And then we
first.
can discuss and kind of go from there.
Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot on this. I mean, I know that that's just two for now. I'm making that a four-way. That's in Woodhaven. That is a busy intersection. That's kind of the main road for us to get into that neighborhood from Woodhaven and Sunset, and then Pinehurst and Sunset as well. There's a lot of traffic that meets there. I'm not surprised that there's a request for that. I guess I would say that.
Yeah, I can add, we did discuss this and we went through records and there is additional development by the highway that has pedestrian traffic, kind of walking across the intersection, whereas before they would turn up, Woodhaven. So that's a significant draw. There is a ton of, pedestrian traffic out there. So looking at this with our, senior civil engineer, we kind of think it might meet warrants for an all-way stop, and we're recommending it. We're just gonna go collect that data with our, radar count machines that don't have their kind of the incognito. They'll collect the traffic counts so we can do a warrants analysis and then, show whether there's warrants, and then we just make a recommendation to the city manager to make it an all-way stop. I think that's kind of where it would go.
We're gonna do traffic count, but not a speed analysis.
Oh, we'll get speed too, yeah,
You do?
yeah, it'll be, basically the volumes of each of the approaches and then average speeds too. So
Okay.
for that, and then pedestrians will have to kind of weigh that as a outside factor, which we could just go observe that there's a lot more pedestrian traffic there. If you just go, especially during rush hour, it's kind of our main regional trail on the sidewalk, so I agree that there's a concern there, and I think that's kind of the route we're going, that if there's warrants met, then we just go through the city manager and get a stop sign. And we did start, like you mentioned, the other stop signs and on Woodhaven Drive, but we decided just to focus at this intersection and focus on the complaint and not start stretching out to Dewey and all the, and Hostler and those other streets. So just focusing here, that's the plan of attack, and I think we can give you an update on the data that's in the traffic safety committee meeting.
Do you have questions or anything you want to talk about?
I live kind of close to that area, ride bikes, my kids down there. It's super busy. Everyone's going either Woodhaven or Pinehurst. So obviously where the two come together is gonna be a busy intersection. I'm not sure that people speed as much. I'm assuming most people are coming off Dewey and they're 2 blocks to that intersection, and there's a stop sign 2 blocks after that. Reading the complaint, talking about how fast people are going, it's like, I'm sure they're speeding, but maybe not 50 miles an hour, it might be in the 30 range. So that's why I'd be interested to see what the speed is, but regardless if there's any speeding. The stop sign makes a lot of sense, and like I say, I ride bikes, I see kids walking to school. That area, so for pedestrian safety, I would be in support of an all-way stop if the warrants it.
We'll need a motion from us to move forward with that.
Where are you
Well,
moving?
depending until next month.
I have a question. If you put stop signs in there, do you also have to put a crosswalk there if it's a four-way?
There was already a crosswalk there. I mean, we'll put stop bars and we'll put the bars as well, yeah. So it makes it clear, since there's so much more foot traffic, we'd want that, at least on the major street for Woodhaven.
Okay. Thank you. We can move to the next one. On the pending, so the first one on the list is 25003 request for street permits at Main Division intersection. I think this was a lighting. It's a lighting one.
Yeah, I have an update on that too. We had them rerun our the photometric analysis or on-call traffic engineer. And from their analysis, it's showing that the intersection is partially compliant. They may have misquoted it here, but the intersection meets standards. Half of the crosswalk for the southbound direction meets standards, but the northbound direction does not meet lighting standards. The immediate plan of attack is we're gonna go ahead and initiate EGE to swap out CoBrad. If that's all right, just to get it as bright as possible now. I did find Jason, you and I were talking about the lighting meter that Bob had purchased, and I think it's prudent to go out and get some actual measurements, so we know how it's close. And the last thing we want to do is go add a light and spend money at this location that's very close, and we may have other locations that aren't as well off, so we're just looking at this one location. Before we add any lights or anything, we want to make sure you have some other locations that might, be a priority, because we haven't really looked at the whole city, so that's kind of our plan of attack is get it as bright as we can, and then we can come back next month and see if we want to take this off and go that we did the best we can and just make a recommendation to get an added light maybe in our long-term plan, but it's pretty close, and I just don't think we can't kind of make a decision solely on this location alone. So I'm sorry that the analysis wasn't crystal clear, so it's partially compliant. And I think we're going to have to keep this one on the list one more month.
So Jason, that probably depend on whether PG is able to meet that timeline.
Yeah, sorry, so that's assuming PG goes out and swaps it out in 2 weeks for us, but yeah, it might take 30 days just to get the request has been made. Okay, perfect. So that's the update there. Yeah, I think if we get more requests like this, we should probably be kind of tracking all of our collector and arterial intersections just to make sure we know which are the most lit and the worst off. Where we're programming for capital outlay plan, I guess, for improving existing streets. And a difficult concept, but
Yeah, there's some other spots that I think are pretty dark too.
I think for this one, I was gonna go take measurements at the Sunset in Maine where we had added some lights there and kind of just give a comparison. Which, how they match up, so we can at least make a call to let it go if it's just under the standard.
Any other discussion on that one? All right, next one is 25-009, speeding concern at Washington, Meineke by the middle school.
So when school's been out, I mean, it's been dampered down a little bit. There isn't as much of an issue. I mean, there'll always be an issue. I mean, what I've been told, the information that I'm getting is that since school's been not in session, there still is some speeding concerns there, but it's not as much because it's not a heavily traffic area because it's all school. But obviously school opening up again, we're probably gonna have the same concerns, the same issues there. Yeah, like last time I think I was here in Officer Pierce where he was sitting in the middle of the invisible and people are still doing sales, right? It's still a concern, it's still an issue, but right now it's not the big issue like it was just because school's out.
Yeah, the speed limit's been higher because schools, during school hours, the speed limit goes down to 20. And that's why there was a constant speeding too, so. I think it's what, 35 now? Or is it 25? It's 25 that whole way, but I know it's 25 on the hill as you're going up. It's 25. Okay, so it's only a 5-mile difference.
So I think last time the thought was that we were gonna let it go farther with enforcement to see if enforcement would make a dent in the speeding issue. Is the thought then that we'll wait until school starts and give it another month or two into school and see if enforcement is working, and then if not, then we'll do something else.
Yeah, we'll still focus on this area when we can, just in the meantime, just to see, hey, is it still what we're seeing when school's out. So that way we have something else to compare it to as well, as far as during those off hours, off days, off hours. But, yeah, we'll, I won't be able to give it as much attention just because of the other areas, but we're still gonna get over there when we can.
You guys okay? I was just leaving it on the list and keeping it open for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Okay, next one is 25010, speeding concern at First and Park Street intersection, requesting stop sign on First Street.
You've got the notices up, it's requires 15 days posted and mailed notice or delivered notice to the residents, and we're at like the 12th day. So that the sign will go in as soon as that passes. So next week, at some point in time, if we have resources. More the following week, but notices are out, everything's in place to get the stop sign installed.
Scheduled for the 6th of August, 5th or 6th of August to get installed.
We probably even just send an email out and take this one off pending email confirmation, and we don't have to do any motion, but maybe, you know, get rid of it early. Assuming it gets installed.
And 1,000 hours and. Oh,
Like nothing code reversion.
Yeah, we're past, all we are doing is waiting out the clock and then the signs go out, right?
No, we were kind of waiting for the notices to get out too.
The notices haven't gone.
They to get it sent out, so notices are, everything's in place, it's on the books for August 6th, so.
There, within the notice, there is a period
Protest.
where we allow it to be placed on that stop sign, so I don't believe we've received any yet, though
No.
once we post before. Haven't received comment about the signs and additional safety measure adding, but I guess we don't anticipate that.
I hope, yeah,
Yeah,
it
we
seems
could-
pretty straightforward and necessary to complete the intersection, make it control on that.
what are you gonna do? Leave it?
We can leave it one more month, or you can just close it and ask you, Jason, if there are any complaints or concerns, you just
Yeah.
bring them back to us to discuss next time.
Same effort, it's on there.
Okay, let's leave it there for another minute. Maybe a quick one next time. Okay, 25-13, request speed limit sign, extra speeds for stop sign at Rolick and Eldridge.
So we moved our speed trailer from the Meineke Road issue into that's gonna sit on one side of the road for 2 weeks. After that, then we'll put it on the other side for the and try to get enforcement as well that we can there. Information that I've gotten so far is that it's slowed people down a little bit, but it's not, I don't have like a whole lot of data or information on that yet. It's just speed trailers out there and it's visible. And it's on the east side of the road, starting for the 2 weeks. After that, it'll be moved over the west side, facing traffic coming south and
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay.
Do we get speed data from the speed reader feedback signs? Or it's just the path travel slow down,
The trailer?
the trailer?
the trailer doesn't, the trailer that, this one doesn't, it doesn't collect data right now, but these other.
Yeah, typically they do have the ability to do that, whether we turned it on and started collecting the data and checking it. Is another question, but typically the anything that's flashing your speed when you go should have the ability to collect traffic volume, speed, similar to the green spots that we're putting up on Pinehurst and Woodhaven. But to verify that, it's just my experience has been they always have that ability to turn that on, whether you have to pay extra for a software upload or something. It's a different question. It should have that ability to also serve as a data collection point.
City subscribes to that urban SDK software, do you know, the one where you can use speeds on streets.
So, yeah, we're hoping to have that contract. We gave them a purchase order, so they sent us an invoice, so. The onboarding, I think, is scheduled somewhere for the second or third working week in August for staff on that software. But yeah, so it'll be a year subscription. For that staff will have access to help evaluate some of these concerns that are coming in.
Okay. Yeah, that might be a good approach. Well, I think seeing the speed trailer impacts the drivers. They slow down or maybe they speed up. They try and get it flat, that's why having that invisible eye is kind of, I think, more accurate.
Okay. Well, we have a new item on the agenda we haven't had before, Counselor Nays, you get the stage.
Yeah, so some months are a little bit slower in a good way for the city. I think that we have coming up our National Night Out. On August 5th, it'll be before the council meeting, there'll be no work session tonight, it's work from 5 to 8, hosted by the police department. Community is welcome to that. And then the other item is the Sherwood Citizens University is starting back up again. We had been doing that as a city prior to COVID. Kind of shut it down, and it's going back to just this week course this time, and it'll cover the different departments of the city, kind of how the city operates. It's been a good place to pull people for boards of committees, city council. That way for citizens to get involved with the city and learn a little bit more about it. Actually be more involved with the city after that. You can find information for that on the city website. Registrations are due beginning of September. If you want to sign up for that, I don't know how full it is at this point. We just recently announced. So if you're interested, look into that sooner than later. Just fills up.
Where's that advertised? Like what kind of target demographic is trying to be reached?
Anybody 18 and older in Sherwood.
Is it the podcast center? Because this is my first time.
I just heard about it this Monday,
Okay.
and so I think it's fairly recent. We did just hire or transition somebody to the communications role, and so we're hoping that that kind of helps with some of these types of announcements for the city. But I don't have a better answer for you right now for that. I don't know if you want to do questions during this time for me, if any of the board, certain other boards we've done things. Happy to answer what I can, and then if not, get back to you next month.
Mike, we have questions for you on behalf of council there.
Yeah, or what's going on in the city, or is it? Sure, the questions. It's like potpourri.
You know when Chick-fil-A is opening?
Like that. I do not know what please that now.
That's everyone's question.
Yeah.
There's no Costco stuff, right?
There's usually a lot of questions like that, but indeterminate.
Other people you can talk to, kind of that Costco, I bet, that might mess around.
Yeah, Hops and Drops is my way. Our business development person to lure something just as good.
Anyone else have a question for Dan? Stump on me. Okay, so the next on the list is board announcements or comments. Anybody have anything not on the agenda? Yeah. That's easy. We'll move on to staff comments. Okay, staff updates. We have a couple for you, Jason, and then
Right, as you may know, Brookings got a center line stripe on it finally. That's, we'll call that a victory for now. Comments from the citizens there are duly noted, the speed zones overlapping, lack of signs. There's all sorts of stuff that we could do to respond to it, but I think we'll take the center line for now of appreciating that from the county. And still push forward a request for potentially changing the stop signs at Brookman Middleton. They're a little bit confusing, and just getting them, we've gotten requests to either change that to an all-way stop or swap it around. So I think you should ask. And then lastly, put in at least a request informally of if we did want to change the speed from 35 to 30 posted potentially. What would be the process so we can share that here, and it's most likely gonna be a speed request or speed change request through the state, which we've done before, and I know the rules have changed a bit where you can change it by 5 miles per hour, but we still had to go through the same process for the 5 miles per hour on Elwood, so it would likely be a year-long process, but I think those are the only other things that we can do here is word, so recommend on, and then that's half urban and half rural, my favorite word, rural. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna keep pushing forward, and just happy to have center lines right there after 20 years of hoping for that, so.
And the fog line is clear too. You're no longer confused thinking, is that the road? Do I drive all the shoulder here? So no, they did a good job. It was like someone spray painted dash lines for the last couple of weeks. And I was gonna ask, that was my number one question coming in today is like, was that just a resident who painted those dash lines or was that intentional? And then I saw the real stripes and I'm like, okay, good. Yeah, it makes a big difference, I feel. So that should hopefully slow things down. Based on the comments I heard today, I did have a question. Whose jurisdiction is that short stretch between the two 90-degree bends that they were referencing? Like who owns that road? That's county?
It's, the county has a little bit of that. But it's still in the UGB, so it's kind of like all three counties have a little bit of piece of the puzzle there, so that's what complicates it, but. It's nothing that, IGAs and whatnot can resolve. I think it's just resources and burdens and everyone's TSPs and our regional transportation plans to get this big improvement. So I think that's the reason there's apprehension to throw a bunch of money at something that's gonna get rebuilt too.
Yeah, that makes sense. It is enforced by our police department, since we're the ones out here. Mostly.
Yeah, I think Kevin Dan's given some explanations on that and Chris too as well, but yeah.
Signs where to go on. Is the city of Sherwood paying or would Washington County pay?
Oh, I know.
Okay.
So,
Typically you do it.
Washington County is the one that striped the road. They're the ones that put up the signs out there. They put them on the corners here a few years ago. So they're looking at ownership of the roadway.
Hmm.
But like Jason says, Blackmost County is right there as well.
Mhm.
I'm almost sorry that there are two commenters left before we could say, these residential speed signs out here on the desk. I mean, it certainly couldn't hurt to have a couple of residents put those in their yards. And, for the record, I would say if there's residents that live on Brookman, they could come into the police station and pick up one of those signs, or heck, I'm not that far away. I could drop one off, but that would be a cheap fix if that worked.
Okay, you got one more?
Update on Sunset Timbrel project. Working ahead on that one. PG's out doing work. They've got a transformer on that line. It was about capacity. There was no real power meters and whatnot, so we have to tap in to get the signal energized. Still, the plan is to get the ramps done like before school starts on the 25th or 26th of August. So not having any of the sidewalks blocked, so that'll be done, have the pavement markings in, and then we'll just be waiting for the signal equipment to be delivered. We're still trying to hone in on a date for that. The lead times are just like you quoted for your project is November, and we're getting like a December delivery date for that. So challenging project, but we're gonna get it squeezed in and accommodate the school is still the plan. So we have website up, we've got QR codes out, staked into the ground. I sent a copy on email. We're reaching out to the city of Tigard regarding the outreach program they did for their hawk system at Tigard High School. And in looking through what they did to get the word out, I think it's a little bit more than we probably want to do, but it was an extensive campaign kind of explaining how the hawk systems work and the flashing red lights there. And they've got some questions into Kittleson about how short we can make the flashing red time. Talk to the county about it. They understand that speeds are kind of confusing at T intersection, so. Trying to do everything we can to get the, message out, educate the public. And now we had some concerns at the last meeting. But I wrote, discussed those up the chain of command. We're still sticking with the ARC system, but yeah, we do need to get some. Public service announcements out to the neighborhood about how they function, how they work and what's coming, so. I think we're in touch with the city of Tiger and kind of just using their templates set up, so we're not reinventing the wheel and get information out really quick.
But the transformer, you said a transformer, does that increase the cost of the, I mean, it obviously does. Does that cost be passed on us then?
The part of it, the EV absorbing some of it gets pushed onto the ratepayers, and then the project is absorbing like the infrastructure costs for their labor to come do the work.
Sure.
So it was just probably something that hadn't been discussed for the past 20-30 years. I think no power meters on that stretch of Sunset, and it just happened to be that we're the last kind of project in and have to put the transformer there.
Thanks.
We got a couple of questions. First off, are there any trees that need to be removed on Sunset?
Yeah, we, in our plan, we show quite a few coming out, but we're doing kind of a two-phased approach where we're only taking 3 out that are in complete conflict with utilities.
Okay.
And then when the signal's set, we're gonna bin the site out and kind of see if there's as much conflict, because I think we did worst case scenario and it showed like 20 trees coming out. And I think there's probably like 8 or 9 total that should be removed, but that's kind of why we did the 2-step process of taking the trees out, which is not typical, but we knew that they'd be the neighborhood and everybody want to hold on to the trees as much as possible, but just coming in and getting them all out of there. There's probably a few that didn't have to come in all that way, so.
Okay, yeah, and
Be careful.
that's why I asked, because driving there and seeing where the construction marks are. I'm looking at these big canopies hanging over, going, ooh, there's gonna be some site issues there, so some are gonna have to go for sure. And then my next question was, how many, like, what is the arm over Sunset gonna look like? Is it 2 separate ones? Cause there's 2 different dug up sections, and I assume that's the footprint of where the things are gonna be.
Separate arms, on the opposite side of the intersection. And then it's all being set up, so there can be a third pole that goes in if there's development for the traffic signal, or Timbrel has to widen for a turn lane out of there, so. That's kind of where why we're doing pedestrian hybrid beacon, in addition to the needs on Sunset, it just likely will be a traffic signal someday.
I got a couple things. One, I wanted to, last time when you brought it up, I had a lot of concerns over that, thinking that there was gonna be so much confusion that it was gonna cause problems, and I did a bunch of my own research and homework that led me to Tiger and the one that they have by the high school. And I drive by that one actually in the morning to go to the gym. I just never really paid that much attention to it because it's never on at 5 in the morning, but it's like identical.
Okay.
It's got, it's, it's the main road right next to a school. It's a school crossing, and then there's a side street that comes into it right at it. And so I talked to them a little bit also. I didn't talk to Courtney. I talked to their city engineer, and before they had the Hawk signal, they had an RFB there, and they said they weren't getting compliance. And so that's why this is like they've continually escalated the traffic control, hoping that it gets compliance. And I didn't get a chance to talk to Courtney to hear if it was working better. But I guess it made me feel better about the end result of it.
I felt better after doing some research on it too, and we can always, if it is an issue, consider elevating it to an emergency signal, but I don't think that would be wise at this point, because it would have the green on at all times, and it would kind of be glaring into people's yard.
And then I'm glad to hear that you guys are gonna do some public outreach, because I still think that's gonna be a big learning.
Yeah,
People.
I talked to John over at the county about it too, and he's about the flashing red time to reduce that. And he said that there's still METCD stuff that requires, I think, at least 1 or 2 seconds of the red flashing, so we can't get rid of it all the way. That's the confusing part for me, is when I see a flashing red, I think all like, the sunset signal at 99 is flashing red, that means everybody's stopped. All stop control, so I think that's where the confusion comes from, the T intersection, so we'll see. But yeah, we'll get the word out and make sure everybody's well informed and some reader boards probably.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention was there's some tall vegetation in the island. North of the intersection, where if you're coming from Sunset, if you're coming from 99 down Sunset. You can't see half of the crosswalk until you get closer. It looks like there's some trimming that maybe that in the meantime might be worth taking.
Heading westbound or eastbound.
It's in the middle of the road on the island.
Like the same one coming from 99.
From
Okay.
Haven.
Alright, that's, yeah, you're kind of up on a hill.
South, but
Yeah, that's a little bit higher, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I got caught off guard. But yeah,
Makes sense.
okay.
Yes, I also have an update. So as you're aware, we've kickstarted our transportation system plan update. We have 2 members on this committee that are a part of the citizen advisory committee. So thank you, Jason, and thank you, Lisa. Our first meeting is actually next Tuesday, 5:30 to 7 p.m. And then earlier that day, we're also having our technical advisory committee. So that's with our partner agencies, we'll be attending that and looking at it in a technical perspective. Over the weekend, we also participated in doing some outreach at the Robin Hood Festival and did one Music in the Green. We're currently soliciting email addresses for the interested parties list, since this project is 2-year project. So the same time you guys received the packet, the interested party also received the packet, or let them know that it's available online on the project website. So anyone that's looking for it, you can just Google Sherwood TSP Update 2026. And a link will get you to that page, and on the bottom has the actual packets for both of those meetings. Citizens are more than welcome to provide testimony. We also ask if they can't make it at the actual meeting, provide us written testimony 24 hours ahead, so that we can relay a message to both committees. I will also be next week, outside of the Tuesday Citizen Advisory Committee and the Technical Advisory Committee, I'll be at the Music in the Greens, also soliciting emails. So if you want to swing by, I'll be there at Stella Olson. In September, we will be presenting Safe Routes to School at the work session with City Council in regards to what we've done with Middleton Elementary, an update on the Sunset Chimbrel project, but also the school crossing analysis we did on the elementary school, and what the findings were for that as we move forward in regards to trying to make our students safer in regards to doing more active, safe routes to school transportation with us. That's all I have, unless you guys have questions.
Thank you. Any other staff? Okay. I think that's it. We'll adjourn.
Maybe that's the next week.